Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're tackling the Moorish Empire.
Ooh, fascinating.
Right. And to guide us, we've got excerpts from this book. It's literally called the Moorish Empire.
Straightforward title.
Yeah, no messing around. But we're going beyond just the basic facts. We want to understand how this empire rose, what made it unique, and how its influence still resonates today.
I like it, getting to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. And get this, we're talking ancient Roman ruins in Morocco, possible links to biblical figures like Joshua.
Wow.
Yeah. And the fascinating lives of rulers like Yusuf bin Tashfin. Oh, and did I mention tales of pirates and ransoms?
Sounds like it's going to be quite a ride.
Buckle up.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into all those juicy details, let's set the scene. What was Morocco like before the Moorish Empire as we know it?
Well, picture this. Morocco's right at the crossroads of Europe and Africa, always super strategically important.
Ah, so it wasn't just some isolated kingdom, it was at the heart of things.
Exactly. A bridge between continents. Really helps us understand its history.
Makes total sense. So who were the people living on this bridge before everyone started calling it Moorish?
The Berbers. They were the indigenous people of North Africa. Their culture is a huge part of the Moorish Empire's foundation.
Okay, so it's not a purely Arab story.
Nope. A blend of influences. Way more interesting.
Agreed. Now, how far back does this Berber history go?
Okay, so get this. Near Tangier, there's this inscription on ancient columns thought to be left by the Phoenicians, talking about fleeing from Joshua the robber, son of Nun.
Wait, biblical Joshua? Battle of Jericho Joshua.
The one and only. And Arab historians actually claim that Berbers are descended from the Canaanites Joshua kicked out.
Whoa, so we've got Phoenicians, Canaanites, and Berbers, all before we even get to the Moorish label. Talk about layers of history.
It really shows how interconnected everything is.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
when does Islam enter the scene?
That's the next big chapter. 7th and 8th centuries, Arab armies arrive, bringing Islam with them.
And I'm guessing this wasn't just a smooth transition. The Berbers didn't just say, welcome, did they?
You got it. The Berbers resisted, clashed with Arab rule, even set up their own independent dynasties.
Ah, so we've got this melting pot of Berber culture, Islam arrives, and all these power struggles.
Yeah.
How does the Moorish Empire, as we know it, start to emerge from all this? Was there a let's be Moors moment?
Not quite. One of the early players was the Idrisi dynasty. They left their mark with their unique coinage.
Coins, huh? Seems kind of basic.
But think about it. These coins weren't just currency. They were symbols of power. They controlled trade and let everyone know it.
Ah, so it's starting to feel like a real empire now.
Right. But like many dynasties, they eventually fell 10th century.
So were the Idrisi the only ones vying for power?
Oh, not at all. There were other Berber groups too, like the Miknasa, the Maghrawa. They formed their own independent states. It's less like a unified empire and more like a complex mosaic of different groups.
Okay, I can see why this period gets overlooked. All these groups and shifting powers.
It's complicated, but all this sets the stage for the rise of truly powerful dynasties, like the Moorabti. They really bring that Moorish Empire image to the forefront.
Ooh, sounds like a story for another time.
Absolutely.
But for now, we've got Phoenicians, biblical figures, dynasties, unique coins. Who knew the Moorish Empire had such deep roots?
It's fascinating stuff.
All right, back to the Moorish Empire. Last time, we left Morocco as this mix of cultures, different Berber groups, all competing. And then you mentioned a dynasty, the Moorabti. They sound like they really shook things up.
Big time. Imagine all these smaller Berber groups, right? Fighting amongst themselves. Then bam, out of the Sahara come the Moorabti. Nomadic warriors, super strong and deeply religious.
So they weren't just conquerors. They had a mission.
Totally. They believed they were doing God's work. Combining that powerful army with a powerful message, that's a winning formula.
Yeah, I could see that. Did everyone just surrender to them, though?
Not right away. Remember, those Berbers were fiercely independent. But the Moorabti were clever. They saw all that fragmentation, all that infighting as an opportunity.
So they swooped in with a message of unity.
Exactly. Unity, stability, and a compelling religious vision. Pretty persuasive.
Makes sense. But who was the brains behind all this? Was there like a poster boy for the Moorabti?
Absolutely. Yusuf bin Tashfin. A remarkable leader, brilliant military strategist, deeply devout, known for his just rule. People were drawn to him, his charisma, his vision.
Sounds almost too good to be true. Was he really that flawless, or is that just the legend?
Well, nobody's perfect, right? Yusuf bin Tashfin was definitely not afraid to use force to get things done, but his motives were complex. For example, his expansion into Spain. It wasn't just about conquest. He genuinely saw himself as defending Islam, helping out Muslim rulers in Andalusia who were struggling against Christian forces.
Ah, so this is where the Moorish Empire really starts to tangle with Europe. It's not just an internal North African story anymore. What happened when the Morabti marched into Spain? Did they just take over?
It was a process, Alliances formed, battles fought. But under Yusuf bin Tashfin, they established a strong presence, big influence on both sides of the Mediterranean, brought their architecture, science, math, their unique culture. It was a period of huge cultural exchange.
So it wasn't just about military domination.
Right, more like a cultural fusion.
Okay, I can see why the Morabti are so important. They unified Morocco, expanded into Europe, left a lasting mark on Spain. But empires don't last forever, do they? What happened to the Morabti? Internal struggles, external pressure.
It was a bit of both. Like most empires, they eventually faced internal challenges, people questioning their authority. But there was also a new group on the rise, a dynasty that would ultimately overshadow them, the Muwahadi.
The Muwahadi, did you say they were even more religious than the Morabti?
Yeah, they were reformers. They thought the Morabti had strayed from true Islam. They believed in a stricter, more fundamentalist interpretation.
Wow, so not just a change in leadership, but a change in the whole vibe of the empire.
Exactly. Their leader, Abd al-Mumin, he was charismatic, drew people to his message of purity reform. Think of it like a Moorish Reformation.
A Moorish Reformation, I like that. Did this new, stricter Islam actually affect people's everyday lives?
Absolutely. New laws, new social norms, big focus on religious observance. They also impacted art, architecture, intellectual life. It was a period of intense religious and cultural change.
Big changes. What about their territorial ambitions? Did they keep expanding the empire?
Oh yeah, they were definitely expansionists. They pushed further into North Africa, solidified their control over Morocco, even challenged Norman rule in parts of what's now Tunisia. It was a powerful time for the Moorish Empire.
So they had the religious zeal and the military power. Seems like they had it all, but every dynasty falls, right? What about the Muwahadi?
Well, they eventually faced the same issues as their predecessors: internal divisions, external pressures. Their strict Islam, while unifying at first, eventually led to rebellion. And they faced growing pressure from Christian kingdoms in Spain, new rivals in North Africa. It all added up.
So a familiar pattern, huh? Powerful dynasty rises, expands the empire, then falls apart due to internal and external pressures. Is that just how empires work, or was there something unique about the Moorish Empire?
That's a great question. Historians are still debating that, but the story's not over yet. After the Muwahadi, we've got the Beni Marin dynasty coming up. They've got this really interesting relationship with Spain, sometimes allies, sometimes enemies, and their story takes us closer to the modern era with a whole new set of challenges.
Beni Marin, huh? Sounds like another fascinating chapter.
Oh, it is.
But for now, we'll have to leave them hanging. Listeners, until next time, think about this. How did that intense Muwahadi focus on religious reform shape the Moorish Empire in the long run? We'll dive into that and more in the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back, everyone. Last time we left off with the Muwahadi, those religious reformers. Now we're on to the Beni Marin dynasty. What made them tick? Did they keep up those strict policies, or did things change again?
The Beni Marin, they're really interesting because they had this real back and forth with Spain. Alliances one minute, battles the next. It wasn't just reacting, they were shaping the whole political landscape.
Sounds like they were playing chess with kingdoms. Were there any big names in this era? Anyone we should know?
One really ambitious guy was Abu el-Hassan. He led campaigns in both Spain and North Africa. Shows you just how connected everything was. His story's full of ambition, strategy, setbacks too. It captures the whole challenge of running an empire that spans continents.
Ambitious is right. Did he manage to hold on to all that territory? Or did it start to crumble under him?
Well, their control in Spain weakened. Eventually, they had to pull back from Andalusia. And it wasn't just external enemies, they had internal divisions too, power struggles. Even the biggest empires can be fragile from within.
Fragile from within, yeah. Seems like that's a recurring theme, right? These internal divisions. Is that unique to the Moorish Empire, or is it just how empires work?
I think it's a challenge for empires in general. You've got all these different regions, cultures. It's tough to hold it all together. But the Beni Marin definitely left their mark. And then after them came the Wattasid dynasty, more of a transitional period, really. But then things get interesting with the Saadi Sharifs.
Wait, Sharifs? What's that all about? Sounds important.
It is. Sharif means noble or honorable. But here it means they claim to be direct descendants of the Prophet Muhammad.
Whoa, that's some serious street cred. How did that play out for them? Did they use that religious authority to expand, or what?
The Saadi, they're all about resilience. They came to power in the 1500s, a time of huge challenges both inside and outside Morocco. They had internal rivals, external threats from the Portuguese, the Ottomans. It was constant struggle.
So, not exactly a walk in the park. Did they manage to hold their own against all those threats?
Oh, yeah. One of the most dramatic moments was the Battle of El Khazar in 1578. Imagine this. The Saadi, led by their sultan, against the Portuguese king himself, Dom Sebastian. And get this, there were English and even papal soldiers on the Portuguese side. It was huge.
A real clash of civilizations. Who won?
The Saadi, decisive victory. But it cost them. King Sebastian was killed in the battle, big blow to the Portuguese. That victory cemented the Saadi's power, showed everyone they were a force to be reckoned with.
Wow, the death of a king. High stakes indeed. Did things calm down after that?
There was some stability. They even got closer to European powers, especially England, more diplomacy, trade, but conflict was always lurking. And eventually, the Saadi also declined, making way for the dynasty that's still in power in Morocco today, the Falali.
No way. We started with biblical figures, and we're ending with the dynasty that's still around. That's mind-blowing. What are these Falali guys like?
They're really the start of modern Morocco. One of the most famous is Moulay Ismail. His reign lasted 55 years, that's incredible. He was known for his long rule, ambitious building projects, and, well, his ruthlessness.
Ruthless, huh? Sounds like he wasn't messing around.
Not at all. He was known for harsh punishments, had a massive harem, did whatever it took to stay in control, but he was also a skilled administrator, diplomat. He knew how to navigate a changing world.
So, a bit of a mixed bag then. How did Morocco get along with Europe during this time? Were they still considered a major power?
Their influence wasn't what it once was, but they were still a force. Trade continued, but there was also piracy, and unfortunately the enslavement of Christians. It's a dark part of their history. A reminder that even when there's cultural flourishing, terrible things can happen.
Slavery, wow. I thought that was mostly gone by then.
It's a complex issue. The capture and enslavement of Christians actually went on in Morocco until the 1800s. It's something that's often forgotten, but we need to remember the whole picture, the good and the bad.
That's heavy stuff. It's hard to reconcile those two sides, the sophisticated empire and this horrific practice. It's a reminder that history is never simple. So, how did that whole chapter of slavery finally end?
It took time. Attitudes within Morocco changed, and there was pressure from Europe. Slavery was officially abolished in the 19th century, but the impact on those who suffered is still felt.
That's a powerful reminder that even as we admire the Moorish Empire, we can't ignore the darker parts. But what about their achievements? What did they leave behind that we still see today? How should we remember them?
They definitely left their mark. Look at their architecture, the Alhambra in Spain, for example. Their art, music, cuisine, it was this amazing mix of Berber, Arab, Islamic influences, and you can still feel that today. Their story shows us the power of cultural exchange, the complexities of history.
Well said. This has been a fascinating deep dive. Powerful rulers, epic battles, cultural innovations, and yeah, some pretty dark stuff too. It's a reminder that history is never just one thing. It's a tapestry of so many different threads. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you'll keep exploring this amazing history.
Absolutely.